What's going on, everybody? Blender here, and I'm going to show you guys how I heal an M10 Lazarus. It's very difficult at first, but once you get the hang of it and once you get a good group, it's actually pretty easy. And I'm going to show you guys my build. It's pretty much the standard build. I am working on a new build. I found this group of guys. They're really great. They're very experienced in running the expeditions, the mutated expeditions, and they pretty much carried me, through all the fights so far. I was healing, so, it was still a carry. I mean, they're really good. They're all geared, and I got to learn a lot, on how to do this effectively, efficiently. So I want to share that with you guys. This isn't going to really be like a step-by-step how to, do everything in the mutated Lazarus, but it's going to be more of a healer's perspective, some tips and tricks, how I do it, what heals I use, and what I do in certain situations. So if anybody wants to see Lazarus from a healer's perspective, a really fast, good, clean, mutated 10, then this video is for you. So I'm going to start with the build first. This is basically the cookie cutter build, pretty general build: beacon, lights embrace, and sacred ground. I'll show you what gear I'm using, and yeah. All right, so we're going to go over the abilities that I use. This is my healing tree. All right, so we're just going to start from scratch. So, and I don't want to get too in depth with it, but I do want to explain a little bit. So we're going to get absolved. We're not going to take mending touch. I hate mending touch. I hate splash of light. The debuffs that they remove, I don't even know what they are. And all the good ones that I want removed, like all the big debuffs that are really nasty, they don't remove. So I don't get these ever. And I never get divine embrace. The only thing I swap out between is overprotection and lights embrace, depending on the fights. So we're going to take Sacred, best heal in the game, and we're going to take both of these because they just make them awesome. More stamina, 50% more healing is amazing. And since we want Divine Blessing, we have to take all this stuff too. So we don't even need to go into these, but I will talk about Intensify. I never used Intensify before, but I do now. You have to. Now, both your heavy attacks and light attacks with refreshing move on your Will of the Ancients, which you should have, are going to give you cooldown reductions. So even though you're using heavy attacks to get this buff going, you're still getting your cooldown reduction off of the heavies. So whenever you can, you want to be using heavies. You're going to get 10% more healing, and it stacks 3 times. So you can get 30% more healing whenever you hit an enemy with a heavy. And you'll see that in the footage that I do. So during the boss fights, during any kind of fights at all, you're going to want to get those 3 heavies off. Make sure you have it, and right before the buff falls off, just hit them with another heavy and you're good. You can't keep this up 100% of the time, but you want to keep it up as much as you can. It's going to be super helpful. And then of course we have Ben Light. We always take Ben Light. With that plus the 3 stacks of Intensify, you're getting like 50% more healing, so it's pretty crazy. And in dungeons, especially these mutated 10s, you're going to need to dodge all the time. You're always going to be dodging, so you're always going to be getting 20% more healing. Like before I do a sacred ground, I'll get my 3 heavies off, and then I will dodge and put my sacred down. It's very important. It's a lot of healing, so definitely be doing that. So the only other thing I grab in here is, of course, Beacon and Lights Embrace. And with Beacon, I grab both of these. This gives us a bigger Beacon, which is great, and this gives us 5 seconds longer on the Beacon. Lights Embrace, I always go for this Inspire. Some people will not want to get Inspire because, I'm just giving the target more stamina. For your tanks, that's huge, absolutely huge, so you definitely want that. Now, Protector's Strength, if you're a good healer, you're going to have Inspire, trust me. Your tanks will love you for it, and they're going to need stamina as much as they can get. So we're going to take Protector's Strength, which gives us a 10% healing increase if we have a buff, and we're always going to have a buff because this lasts, this is indefinite. And then the only other thing that we can take, we can take that, we're not going to take that. Mana Regeneration's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'll take Glowing Focus. I like Glowing Focus, and we're going to go ahead and go with that. Now, Void Gauntlet, in my opinion, is hands down the best secondary weapon as a healer / support in these dungeons. You can go with like the hammer if you want some stun and stuff, but with Void Gauntlet, it's all about the Oblivion. Oblivion is just amazing. You're going to give your tank more stamina if you spec into it. You're going to give everybody a damage increase. It's just crazy. I don't see why you'd want to not take Oblivion. Now, the other skills, not really that big of a, issue. Grab whatever you want. This is what I grab most of the time, and sometimes I'll use Orb of Decay. Essence Rupture, I can never see the healing from it. I think it might go off if you switch weapons, so that's really stupid, but I don't know 100% if it does that. I'll have to find out, maybe update you guys, or if somebody knows, you can leave it in the comments and let me know. If you put Essence Rupture on an enemy and switch back to your life staff, does it drop? I know there's a buff that goes away when you switch weapons, so I'm not sure if that's a buff from this or, from Essence Rupture, but I can never see the healing from it. So I just go with either Orb of Decay or Void Blade. Now, the reason I like Void Blade is because you get that, you get all these stacks, you get a healing circle with Void Caller. It's really, really cool. It's like a black healing circle around you. It's an AoE heal, so it's really nice. And plus, if you need some extra DPS, you can get in there and, hit them with your Void Blade. So I think it's fun. I like it. But in the mutated 10, you're not going to be using it. You're going to be healing your ass off and dancing around the place. You're not going to want to get in melee range for anything except for maybe an Oblivion to help your tank and help your team. Now, Petrifying Scream is amazing for me. If you're getting chased, if you're getting chased by mobs and you need to be healing, and for some reason they can't pull the mobs off, you turn around, hit them with a Scream, they're rooted, and it's really good. So that's all I want to talk about in the Void Gauntlet. It is a great support weapon. The Oblivion is amazing, and I love the Petrifying Scream. So really, really good choice if you want to, find a really good support weapon for healing. So I love it. I love it a lot. So that's it. Now we're going to go into the gear. So these are what I'm using right now for gear. There's better items out there, absolutely. I'm not going to dive too deep into the gear, but there are better options, and I'm still working on refining my my healing set. So I've been running in medium for a long time, and I just really love medium. It feels good. You're pretty tanky, the heals are pretty decent, but I've been playing with light, and I really, really love light. The heals are so strong, and if you dodge and you know what you're doing, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. So I've got the Sagacious hat. I've got the Sagacious pants. These both came from Tempest. They're probably the best in slot healing armor that, in my opinion, and other people that I've talked to love it. It has Fortifying Sacred Ground, Refreshing, Elemental Aversion. It's got Focus. It's just amazing. You can't really pass this up. So if you're looking for a great hat to wear and you want to try a light build, go with the Sagacious hat. It is amazing. I love it so much. It works really, really well. I'm just using this as a placeholder. Again, I've been using medium gear for the longest time, so I just found something really quick. It doesn't have anything I want except Refreshing, Ward, and Focus. Just something I found. I'm going to be getting rid of this pretty soon and going for something else. This is just a placeholder. These I like because of the Corrupted Ward and Voracious Blade and the Focus, obviously. So, refreshing Ward, Corrupted Ward, any kind of ward for doing these dungeons is going to be helpful. And I'll swap this out for other things once in a while, if I'm doing a dungeon that doesn't have corruption. But Voracious Blade is really, really fun. And this is just about the Focus. Sagacious pants, sometimes I'll swap out and use Mending Protection, and these pants are just great. It's got the Focus, the Shirking Energy, so you get more stamina. Refreshing, I mean, it's just really good set of pants. And then I use these. It's got some Resilience, Focus, another placeholder. I don't need 2 Voracious Blades, so I'm still working on my light set. This is a brand new set. I just started using light. My normal build is, and I'll actually show you guys what my normal build is. I'll just put it on right now. So I use a Void Bent heavy chest and helmet, and then I'll use a light set of legs and medium gloves and boots. And where's my medium boots? I'll just use the Constitution ones. So this is my normal healing set. Now these 3 pieces are not optimized, but this is just my normal loadout, what I'll use. Heavy, medium gloves, medium boots, light legs. You're right at the precipice at medium. It's a great setup. This is actually the only medium setup that you'd wear, pretty much, but you could swap out the helmet, the gloves, or the boots and go with heavy boots, heavy gloves, or whatever you want. But yeah, just keep it medium, and that's what I use. So there's nothing wrong with Void Bent. Really good gear. I use it all the time. I've done mutated 10s with them, and it's just fine. So this is what I normally use. Now the jewelry I'm using, Keeper's Pendant, really great. I believe it's from Dynasty. It's got Purify, Refreshing, Health. There's a better Silver Leaf or whatever it is a much better ring. This isn't the best ring. It's got slash damage, but that's what I've got. And Misty Kismet charm, probably best in slot. Earring in my opinion. Refreshing Evasion, Refreshing, Purifying Toast. Purifying Toast, not really that good, so maybe it's not best in slot, but well, it's not best in slot, but it is a great earring. There's nothing wrong with it, and that's what I use. And then I've got my Will of the Ancients and just a crappy, you know, Void Gauntlet with focus. That's all I wanted, was the focus on it. So I still need to find a better Void Gauntlet too. So there we go. And the food I use to give me some constitution is a roasted rabbit with seasoned vegetables, so I'll use that. And then I'm just going to put my light set back on really quick so I can show you guys what I'm using, or what my attributes are. So got that, and then where did my gloves go? Gloves. And so this is my light set, and my attributes are as follows. So I've got 150 con and 357 focus, but we're going to go with 100 con and crank up that focus. So this is what I'm going to start using. It's a crazy amount of healing. You just have to, you know, you have to dodge, you have to be careful, you have to be nimble, and just pay attention and you'll be fine. But there's nothing wrong with going with 150 con and, you know, 350 focus. That's fine. That's what I've been using most of the time, is 150 and then, you know, or 100. Yeah, 150 and 350. So I use that quite a lot, but I'm going to start using more focus and less con and see how I do. So that's all the gear, that's the attributes. Again, for perks, you just want as much cooldown reduction as you can. Refreshing ward. Fortifying Sacred Ground is everything. You cannot do this without Fortifying Sacred Ground, so you gotta find something with Fortifying Sacred Ground. That is huge, absolutely huge. So that, plus refreshing, any kind of ward, and refreshing evasion, you know, that's all the main stuff that you want for perks. So now let's get right into the dungeon. One more quick thing I wanted to talk about, and they might have actually changed this, but I don't know. Targeted group mode healing off. I used to turn that off if I was in a like an invasion or in a war, because if you have targeted group mode healing on and you're in a war or invasion, it won't allow you to target people with Light's Embrace. It'll only let you target people that are in your group. Okay, so if I had people in my group, I wish I could show you guys right now. I've shown it in a different video, but if I have people in my group and I have targeted healing mode group on, then I won't be able to do this and target somebody with my Light's Embrace. It'll only target people that are, you know, up in the party frames. So when you're in a dungeon though, you're going to definitely want targeted healing group mode on, because what happens is if you keep this off, then when you cycle through your party frames, it doesn't go in order. Like if you hit the mouse scroll wheel down to cycle down to the next person, it'll like go up and it's all wonky. So make sure when you're in a dungeon, you have targeted healing group mode on, and make sure if you're in a war or invasion, you have it turned off so that you can hit people with Light's Embrace that are not inside your group. And then of course, you're going to want targeted healing on all the time. So that's what I do. I like targeted healing because if I just want to hit the tank really quick with a Sacred Ground, I could just highlight them and hit F, and it'll put it on there. Sometimes I just don't have time to aim it around, or if you're down the stairs and they're up the stairs, you can't even see where you're putting it. But if you just, you know, look at them and press F, it'll target your tank. So I really like group mode on, or targeted healing on rather. Oh my god. So yeah, that's what I use. That's what I use. First thing that I want to mention, a big tip, is you got to stay back. If you're in melee range, you're going to get hit. You do not have the gear for this. You do not have the armor mitigation. So your job is to stay back, let the group aggro, let the tank aggro. Don't hit anything before the tank does, and just stay back and watch for those archers. Always watch for range. You'll see me in here quite a few times, maybe, you know, hiding around the corner when they pull, or, you know, going around and hiding behind a column. That's because I'm hiding from the archers. Those archers hurt, and they will kill you very quickly. So always stay behind, especially in this first pull right here. You want to let the group go forward. You stay behind, just keep healing. Now, another thing is when you're doing Lazarus or any mutated dungeon that has the silent zones, those silent zones, they don't do damage, but they will kill your group so fast. So you've got to be prepared for them. The silent zones are the little orange bar up on top. When that orange bar reaches the end and it gets filled, everybody is going to have a silence circle spawned on them. And then the bar is going to start going the other way, and when it gets done, that's when the silent zones are going to explode and do a lot of damage, just like fire damage. So always be aware of your surroundings. Always be aware of that bar up on top. When it's full, that means everybody's going to get a silent zone. You don't want to get stuck in one. You don't want to get stuck in the corner somewhere. You have to get out of those silent zones as soon as possible so that you can continue healing. If you don't, the group's going to wipe. Everybody's going to be taking so much damage in here. It is insane how much damage everybody takes, and you have got to be healing the entire time, no breaks, no hiccups, for this to be successful, because you've got to get through this dungeon and do it pretty much perfectly to be able to get gold and get all those umbral shards. So watch out for the silent zones. They're crazy. And the way the mechanic works is every time somebody in your group uses an ability, the bar goes up. Every single ability adds to that progress bar, and once that bar is full, then the silent zones drop. So again, just be aware of that. So the portal room's not too bad, you know, if you have a good group that can keep the mobs together. Activate the runes when you're supposed to, and just watch out for the silent circles. That's pretty much it, you know, and you know, stay back. Don't ever get up there in melee range, and you'll be fine. Now this stuff right here is pretty easy. Just hug the wall, put your weapon away, try not to pull anything, and then once you get out of that little hallway there, you know, drop some AoE heals down, and you're pretty much set. So yeah, all I'm really doing is just, you know, keeping Sacred down on cooldown pretty much, getting those intensifies up when I can. Sometimes your heavy attacks won't hit and they won't register because either A, your team is using Maelstrom, and as dumb as it is, it actually sucks up any projectiles, including friendlies. So that makes it really hard to get your cooldown reduction down with your lights. It makes it really hard to get your intensify stacks up with your heavies. So it's just a pain in the butt. So if that's the case, just don't even worry about it. Or maybe one of the DPS can swap out their Maelstrom for something else. Maelstrom is really detrimental for your healer and any other ranged people, you know, right now in the state that it is. So hopefully they fix that soon. But yeah, just keep Sacreds on the ground. Just try to keep them on there the whole time. Use your cooldown reduction with your refreshing move as much as possible. And you should be okay. Throw a beacon every time it's on cooldown, and save your Light's Embrace for, you know, when you need those big sudden bursts of healing. I save my Light's Embrace for the tank usually, or for a range that, you know, gets caught out or gets hit by a bow, or for myself if I get hit pretty good. One thing you never want to do is waste a Light's Embrace. Make sure you only use it when somebody is really, really hurting. That way it's always available when you have an emergency. So right here in this room, you want to stay out pretty much the whole time. Once they kill most of the enemies, when they have like 1 or 2 left, you can go ahead and go in there. But before then, you want to make sure you stay out, get those intensifies right away, get a stack of 3, and then shoot a Sacred Ground in there, beacon, and you should pretty much be good to go. And if you have a good group, they'll coordinate those purple silence zones. So when it's about to, you know, pop and everybody gets those zones, they'll say, hey, let's go over here, let's drop these silent zones before we go in the room. And then, you know, at that point, what everyone does is they just start using abilities, and then it'll finish up that bar quick, and those silent zones will just drop before you go in that room. You don't ever want those to spawn in you know, tight spaces. So once you clear all these enemies down here, somebody's going to go activate 𝙏𝙤 while the rest of the team runs through this corridor, and we're just going to go up there and hide on this little ledge. And what we're trying to do is we're going to try to line of sight all these enemies, because if they can't see you, the range are going to have to, you know, move to a location where they can see you. That's line of sighting. And once we get them, once we all run up there and stay up there, we wait till they kind of group up, and then we, you know, drop down and AoE them down. So AoE is key in this dungeon. You always want to have everything grouped up. That way the healer can throw the sacred, the beacon, and get everybody so that they're not all scattered and running around like crazy. So that's a really, really big tip. Always try to get everything clumped up together. Now this boss fight right here is probably one of the hardest fights if you don't have an experienced group, but all you need is a bunch of warhammers, and you should be using warhammers anyway because of the strike damage, and throw a topaz on there for extra damage. But yeah, if everybody has warhammers, or you have a couple at least, you can flatten them, you can use wrecking ball, you can stun, and just keep interrupting, you know, with whatever you have. Just interrupt. You don't have to dodge, you don't have to die, you don't even have to get hit, and as long as you have good DPS, you can clear this guy in seconds. Now there's really not much to say about right here, you know, with an experienced group, it's pretty darn easy. Just group everything up, throw your AoE heals down, and if you're using Intensify and getting those heavy attacks and getting your 3 stacks and then dodging all the time, you're gonna have so much healing that the guys could just stand in the fire. Now, if you have light, it's even better. I mean, you could heal through so much with light gear and 350 to, you know, maybe even a little more focus, so it's super, super easy. Alright, so for the 𝙏𝙤 fight, one of the most important things is this is a fight where you can maintain your Intensify stacks 100%. It's super easy. There's nothing that blocks your projectiles. Nobody's using Maelstrom. They should be using hammers, spears, you know, whatever. So you want to keep the Intensify at 3 stacks. That means heavy attacks, 3 heavy attacks, and then immediately go to light attacks. You are never going to want to be sitting still. You're always going to want to be moving, and you're always going to be attacking the entire fight. If you want to be an A+ healer, run in, drop an Oblivion, and then dodge out. You don't want to dodge in, you need to save that dodge, so as soon as you pop the Oblivion on the group, you can dodge immediately and get out of the way, because you do not want to get hit. Also, the spears, you gotta watch for those spears. Just get ready to dodge at any second. And you know, the only time you should get hit by the spear is if you're in the middle of a heal. And I'm trying to figure out a way to really cancel that heal or cancel the animation so that I can dodge, but I always get hit by it, you know, when I'm in the middle of a heal. Other than that, you know, it's a pretty straightforward fight. Wait till about 16 or 17 stacks so that you can, you know, possibly skip the second phase altogether. And also the healer should be the one that gets the orbs. So at like 16, 17 stacks, I'll hop over, I'll grab the orb. Make sure you have a dodge available, because as soon as you press E to drop the orb, you want to dodge immediately and you won't get that Ren debuff. You can actually, you know, bypass that completely. So you don't have to do a rotation of, you know, I'll get it first and then the melee 1 gets it, melee 2 gets it. The healer can get it every time. Everybody else can keep doing DPS. It's going to make the fight go faster, and it's just much easier. Just make sure you always have stamina. This is a fight where you're always going to want to have some kind of stamina. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So just to recap, you want to intensify. That means getting your heavy attacks on the boss. You get 3 of them, and then go to light attacks. Before intensify goes away, hit her with 1 more heavy attack to restart it, and then back to light attacks. You're going to want to be, as a healer, attacking the boss the entire time, because you're going to need constant sacred grounds, as much cooldown as you can, and you know, keep all your heals on cooldown except for Lights Embrace. Save Lights Embrace. Do not use the Lights Embrace on a half health person. Hit them with the beacon. Hit him with the sacred. No. You want to keep the sacred ground in the tank. And if you have a good tank, like we did here, he'll be in the sacred ground the whole time. And one thing that I do is I let the tank know every time I put a fresh sacred down, so he knows to look for it. He knows to get in it. And, you know, that's pretty much it. Oh, and just a couple more general tips. I'm sure anybody that's on a mutated 10 knows this already, but just in case, you know, there's some new guys watching the video, stay away from the edge. You have to stay away from the edge. You can get knocked off. It happens all the time. So just be really, really careful. Know your surroundings. And also, if you do get to the second phase, if you don't kill her fast enough, and she does get to the second phase, which you could prolong that by, you know, waiting until she gets more stacks before getting the orb. The longer you wait, the more DPS you can get in before getting to that second phase. And also, if you do get to the second phase, after she does it, after everybody runs back to the boss, get ready for a wave. Sometimes she delays it, sometimes she'll wait a couple seconds, or maybe even 5 or 6 seconds. Sometimes she'll do 2 waves, so just be ready for it. It will one-shot squishies. So not a whole lot to say about this room, really. You know, everybody knows this room. Everyone knows how to do it. Just remember that if you're the healer, you're usually going to be in either the first section or the last section, never the middle section. So what that means is whether you're on top or whether you're on the bottom, you can always heal whoever's in the middle. So if you're in the middle, if you need a heal, just let the healer know. And you can do both Sacred Ground or, you know, Lights Embrace. So that's pretty much it about this room. Just heal as much as you can. Try not to die like I did, and everything should be fine. And also, this would be an excellent room to have. This is where I love using Void Blade. Void Blade helps a lot. If it's just 1 DPS and then the healer in the first section, or 1 DPS and a healer up in the top room, you can actually kill these guys pretty fast with the you know, the Void Blade. So I love using the Void Blade here. Just be careful. Make sure you're never in melee range unless there's a Sacred Ground and a beacon down at the same time. Once one of those two are gone, it's too easy to get hit when you're a healer and you'll go down. So again, Void Blade's awesome. Just make sure you have 2 AoE heals down when you're helping your DPS. Now in this room right here, it's pretty easy. Just again, throw your AoEs down, your Sacred, your Beacon, and once you get both of those down and they've got all the mobs, you know, clumped up in one good group, then you can actually, you know, throw a fresh Sacred, throw a fresh Beacon, run up and open the door as a healer. Watch the party frames. If somebody goes down, stop opening the door. It'll save your progress. Go back down there, refresh their Sacred, refresh the Beacon, you know, top them up with the Lights Embrace if you need to, and then finish opening that door so that when these guys are dead, everybody could just run right through and it saves a bunch of time. So nothing too special about this spot. Just make sure, you know, you stick with the party. If you get hit, that's fine. Just use a pot, keep running. Don't heal anybody if they get hit along the way, because then you might get aggro and you don't want that. So just jump up on that ledge, you know, wait till they despawn, jump down, and AoE away. Now this room is super easy, just time consuming. And I don't know if you remember me saying earlier how sometimes you want to you'll see me running around the corner or hiding behind a column. This is the room where you're going to want to do that. So if you see any archers or you get hit by an arrow, make sure you don't keep just trying to heal through it and dodge, as there's kind of a lot going on in here. It's really hard to get these mobs together, so there's kind of some randomness and some craziness. So if you do get hit, or you know you're about to get hit, or you know there's still a couple archers up, or the tank doesn't have aggro yet, run around the corner, hide for a while, keep an eye on the party frames, never take your eyes off that. But yeah, just get ready to hide and run. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually a great tactic to keep away from those damn archers. Those archers hurt, man. So this is another shining example of how great the Warhammer could be in this dungeon. It does extra damage against Ancients. The Topaz gem in it that you could put in it does extra damage. And it just has so many staggering abilities and interrupts. This guy can't even get an attack off. But the caveat is, the prerequisite is you have to have a healer with very strong AoE heals. Sacred Ground and Beacon are a must here. And Orb of Protection would also be a great idea in this fight, because they have the DPS has to be able to stand in that fire, and because if they're constantly having to move away from the fire, they're not going to be able to interrupt this guy, and he's going to do some serious damage. So, like I said, intensify, very important here. Get the heals as strong as you can, and keep them alive by just doing powerful AoE heals. Beacon, Orb of Protection would be great, and also Sacred Ground, of course. Alright, so this fight, number one, make sure you have your food buff, make sure you have con. You're going to have at least 100 con to not get one shot by this boss if you're wearing light gear, and that's even pushing it. You're going to have to be full health, so just be careful, make sure you have your food buff. And yeah, I'm just going to show you guys the fight. This is definitely an AoE heal fight. You're really not going to be using Light's Embrace, so it might even be a good idea to use Orb of Protection on this fight. And give everybody Fortify. Pretty much everybody's going to be stacked together the whole time, and that's all you have to do as a healer on this fight. Just there's really nothing to dodge. You're going to be stacked up the whole time, dropping those heals. Just make sure. This is another fight where it's super easy to keep Intensify up. So you're going to want to keep Intensify up by heavy attacking 3 times, make sure it's full stacks, and then just go to light attacks and just, keep mashing that light attack button to get your cooldowns done, so you can keep popping that Sacred as soon as possible. And also Oblivion. You want to keep Oblivion on cooldown the entire fight. As soon as it's up, swap to Oblivion, throw it down, and then go back to your healing. And pretty much rinse and repeat, and make sure when the boss falls down, you have to use Oblivion. And if somebody else in the group has a Void Gauntlet, which is a great weapon in this dungeon, then make sure you stagger your Void Gauntlets. Make sure you stagger your Oblivions. Let them know when you're dropping yours, and then they'll drop theirs right after you're done. Now you'll see us stacked up here, just kind of waiting around. Well, what we're doing is we're trying to get them to fall down a second time. If you DPS too much, you'll skip that phase, and the fight will be a lot longer. So you want to try to, just coordinate it so that this happens, and you don't over DPS it, because it's very, very easy if you have too much DPS. And one more quick tip, and you can use this throughout any dungeon. When I'm stacked and the group's stacked, instead of hitting F twice for your Sacred Ground, target to appear, and then pressing it again to drop it, I just use my self-heal button and Sacred Ground. You can actually drop it right on top of yourself. So I do that a lot. It makes it much quicker. And, just a great idea all around. And another thing I do is I actually changed my self-heal button to, instead of Control or Alt, I have my mouse side button. It just makes it much, much easier for me. So you might want to check that out. So that's the dungeon, guys. It's actually pretty easy if you have a good group. Now, one more last thing I want to say before, closing this video out. If you're healing, and some groups you're just like, man, I'm doing so good, and some groups you're just like, man, I'm not doing good. Sometimes it's you know, don't be too hard on yourself as a healer. I know healers get blamed a lot for, you know, the group dying or the group wiping, or people are saying, heal me, I need heals. Like, hello, we know you need heals. We're healing somebody else. We're obviously, you know, would heal you if I could, but my heal's either on cooldown or I'm healing somebody else. You healers out there, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, don't be too hard on yourself. If you have a good group, this fight is easy. This dungeon is so easy with a good group. So just don't be too hard on yourself, all right? And that's it, guys. If you have any questions or any comments you want to throw out there, maybe some tips that I missed, let me know. And you guys all have a fantastic day.